think the biggest difference that we'll see right away is in new Prime Minister Manele's his demeanour, the way that he speaks, his conciliatory approach, both to opposition figures domestically, but also to international partners with whom perhaps there have been tensions more recently, particularly under Prime Minister Sogavare's tenure.
Well, can you tell us then who will be pleased about this news and who won't be by this change in leadership?
Look, in a sense, this is the Prime Minister Manele has emerged as somewhat of a compromise candidate. I'm fairly certain that former Prime Minister Sogavare would have wanted to secure a second consecutive term as leader. But quite clearly, MPs in Honiara made the calculation that a second term under Sogavare's somewhat divisive identity politics would have been something of a difficult pill to swallow for the Solomon Islands community. So in Jeremiah Manele, they've got a candidate who will be accepted by the public and someone who doesn't have that sort of that personal baggage that Mr. Sogavare had with certain international partners. So we won't see a drastic change in Solomon Islands foreign policy. We might actually see some more attention on domestic issues that are priorities for Solomon Islands people: economic development, jobs, education, healthcare, those sorts of things. So in a sense, Jeremiah Manele may be the candidate that is the most acceptable and the easiest to work with option for all partners, China, Australia, US included, as well as internally in Solomon Islands.
Why does the Solomon Islands matter so much to countries such as Australia, the US and China?
Look, for different reasons. For Australia, of course, Solomon Islands is a neighbouring country. Australia has a long-standing relationship with that country. It's been a trusted security provider for decades. Solomon Islands' prosperity affects regional dynamics, and it certainly affects Australia's outlook. For the United States, of course, Solomon Islands has become increasingly relevant in its strategic competition with China, and equally for China as it seeks to project force around the world and increase its influence and ensure its strategic access in different theatres. Solomon Islands was a key location, and in Prime Minister Sogavare, they found a receptive partner to work with, which they've capitalised on over the past 5 years.
Now, as you mentioned, Prime Minister Manele will be prioritising domestic issues first as he takes office. What's really pressing at home? What do voters want him to address?
Look, the results in the national election in the middle of April really showed consistent dissatisfaction across the country with the performance of the government, specifically in service delivery. There's a lack of services, a lack of infrastructure, poor qualities of access to healthcare, health facilities, education, those sorts of things. So, for everyday Solomon Islanders, particularly after the euphoria of the recent Pacific Games has worn off, as they trudge past the resplendent national stadium gifted by China, they're on their way to try to eke out a living in what is a brutally scarce jobs market in Honiara. So those domestic issues, they inflame tensions within communities, they make life harder for Solomon Islanders. That'll be the priority for Jeremiah Manele.
What do the public make of Mihai Sogavare pulling out of the top job? They've been used to him for so many years, and now Mr. Manele taking his place.
Look, Mihai Sogavare is, he looms large as an almost mythical figure in Solomon Islands politics. Over his extensive political career, he's been in and out of government, in and out of the top job, in and out of portfolio positions. So he's not out of the picture altogether. But Solomon Islands has a very robust history of switching up prime ministers when the domestic political temperature is too high, or when the prime minister is not seen to be delivering to the community, or in some cases to the rest of parliament. So, he's still a part of the story. And of course, Jeremiah Manele is from the same coalition as Mihai Sogavare. So we won't see a drastic change in approaches.
You say Mihai Sogavare will still be part of the picture. How much influence do you think he'll have behind the scenes?
Look, it's difficult. We haven't seen what the new cabinet looks like, so we don't know if Manasseh Sogavare will hold a cabinet position. In some ways, this was a vote of no confidence in him as prime minister by the MPs in parliament. They made the judgment that he wouldn't be successful as a prime ministerial candidate. So that'll work against him in terms of influence. But really, he's built this coalition, and it's his political and financial resources that got the party to where it is today. And that will certainly buy him a seat at the table, whether it's the official table or, the behind the scenes discussions as a power broker.
Mihai Sora, great to talk. Thanks so much for your time.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.